This tutorial is for 2nd grade, Module 6, Lesson 5. In this lesson, we'll be looking at the difference between rows and columns. In 3rd grade, when the students learn about multiplication and division, it's important for them to know the difference between rows and columns as they work with multiplication arrays. So this lesson will help with that transition. The first direction says, circle groups of 4 and draw the triangles into 2 equal rows. I'll start by looking for a group of 4 triangles. So there's one group and another group. Now I'm going to draw those triangles into 2 equal rows. And the thing we need to remember is that rows run horizontally from side to side. So I'll take my 4 triangles from this group and draw them in my first row. And then I'll take the 4 triangles from the second group and draw them in the second row, which now means I have 2 rows of 4 triangles. The next question says circle groups of 2. Draw the groups of 2 as rows and then as columns. Well, let's take it one step at a time. We'll start by circling our groups of 2. So I have one group of 2, another group of 2, and a third group of 2. I'm going to take those groups and draw them in rows. And again, rows run horizontally. Since I have 3 groups, I'll end up with 3 rows. Each row will have 2 smiley faces in it. So here I have 3 rows of 2. Now I'm going to take my groups of 2 and draw them in columns. Columns run vertically or up and down. So I'll take my first group of 2 smiley faces and draw them in my first column. Then I'll take the second group and draw them in my second column. And I'll take the third group and draw them in my third column. So in this picture, I have 3 columns of 2 smiley faces. So you can see the difference in the pictures. They both have 6 smiley faces, but the first picture has 3 rows of 2, while the second picture has 3 columns of 2. We're going to do the same thing in the next problem, only this time we're going to start by circling groups of 3. So I have hearts here, and I'm just going to circle groups of 3. So I have 2 groups so far, 3 groups, and 4 groups. So I have 4 groups of 3 hearts. I'll start by drawing them into 4 rows going horizontally. So each row will have 3 hearts because each group has 3 hearts. And since I have 4 groups of hearts, that means that I'll have 4 rows of 3 hearts as well. Now let's take those hearts and draw them into columns. Again, since I have 4 groups, I need 4 columns. Each column will have 3 hearts. And again, the pictures are similar because they both have 12 hearts, but the first picture has 4 rows of 3, while the second picture has 4 columns of 3, and there is a difference between the way they look. The next section says to count the number of circles and stars as rows from left to right, and then as columns from bottom up. That means when I'm looking at my circles and I want to find out how many rows I have, I would look at my rows as the circles moving across horizontally. So here's 1 row, 2 rows, 3 rows, 4 rows, 5 rows. So I have 5 rows of circles. The columns moving in a vertical formation would be counted here. I have 1 column, 2 columns. So I have 2 columns. In all, I have 10 circles, 5 rows, 2 columns. Looking at my stars, I have 3 rows and I have 2 columns. Altogether, I have 6 stars. The next part of this question says to redraw the same number of circles and stars, so there are 2 in every column. That means going up and down we have 2 in the column. Well, I had 10 circles to begin with in my first problem. So if I start putting them in columns of 2, here's my first column, there's my second column, that's 4 circles so far, my third column, my fourth column, and my fifth column. So I have 5 columns and they each have 2 circles in every column. We'll do the same thing with our stars. With our stars we had 6 stars. I'll start by making one column with 2 stars in it, and then a second column with 2 stars in it, and a third column with 2 stars in it. So there's my 6 stars, but now we have 2 in every column. My last question says to draw 2 different arrays with 15 triangles. And again, an array is just a configuration of rows and columns of shapes. I'm going to start by drawing 3 rows of 5 triangles. So we'll put 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's one row. I'm going to draw 2 more rows of 5 triangles. So that's one array. I have 3 rows of 5 triangles. Now let's draw a different array. This time I'm going to do 3 columns of 5 triangles. So we'll start with one column. So there's one column of 5 triangles. And there I have 3 columns. Each column has 5 triangles. So we'll call that 3 columns of 5. They both have 15 triangles, but they're in a different configuration. And both of these configurations are called arrays.